with those RFPs today.
No. But the 18, if you printed them out, are stacked that high.
I started to go through them, like, I'm not going to forget.
It was, I think, the New York State contract
Yeah.
that got it in the world.
Yeah, call to order a joint meeting with the IDA, CRC, and GFC board directors. And first order of business is to appoint members to the audit committee for each of the entities.
First and second.
Yeah, so I'll make a nomination of appoint Russ Brewer and Kyle Rieger to the audit committee. For second.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, roll call.
Rieger.
Aye.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Bartos.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion adjourned.
Any other business?
Not moved.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
You don't want to just keep going on something else? What if
Well-
she's late? Later, you know, she's already like, minutes. I mean, there's other stuff to do, right? I don't want to be enrolled in anything.
What do we got? Oh, we can,
We could start on
GFC.
IDA business at the top of the order,
okay.
or
Two separate.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We're adjourned. Then I'll call the IDA Board of Directors meeting to order. First order of business will be to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, February 26th, 2026. Motion by Russ Moore, is there a second?
Second it.
Second by Ian Schwartz. Any errors, corrections, omissions, deletions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Mr. Chairman, if we could defer the financial.
Yeah, the financials, we're going to defer to our next
Simply because we don't have enough updated information into the system and we don't have the reports from the other organizations. We'll work with the CPA to get updates for the next one.
So updates from committees, we'll defer likely until after the meeting of auditors. Governance committee, had a meeting earlier this month.
Dave Rogers being our chair, not being in attendance, our other members being Russ and Kyle. Russ, would you like to? I put you on the spot. Just as a reminder, we went through a couple of different matters at the meeting. First was to review the policies of the agencies in the joint meeting. And then we also reviewed the 2025 accomplishments, the 2026 goals, and other material related to the Paris reports.
So what are we going to do today? We're going to make recommendations to the IDA to review them. Right?
That is correct.
So our recommendation is to approve it. Done. But then the IDA is
Yes. And as a matter of fact, we could start with the IDA organization, which you guys had reviewed, the modifications suggested following that. And just even to work part of this committee. This is part of our annual reporting to document. I think it would be healthy just to say that these were reviewed. If everyone wants to take a few minutes, I would love to start off by just reading the mission statement and then go through the accomplishments, go through the projected goals for 2026, or if you think it's not necessary because it was distributed earlier.
Well, first I'll make a report.
Sure.
The governance committee met and reviewed our policies and recommended our operations and accomplishments for the year. And we voted to bring our review and suggested changes to the IDA board. And that's where we are today. I guess there's no approval except from the board. So go ahead and review it for the board.
I'll just start off with the Madison County IDA for everyone's understanding. The mission of the agency, Madison County IDA's mission is to establish and implement sound economic development strategies in order to enhance the economic vitality of Madison County's businesses, industries, communities, and citizens, leading to an overall better quality of life. Key to the agency's mission is the creation and retention of job opportunities, diversification and strengthening of Madison County's economic base, and developing the economy in a planned, organized, and environmentally compatible manner. Part of our review here at the end will be to go through the performance evaluation, which is the last page of your handouts, which are filled in, but the answers could be changed. We'll ask for everyone to sign this, again, part of our Harris reporting requirements. And I don't know if anyone wants me to walk through line by line, or do you just want to take a few minutes?
How about the changes? What were the suggestions?
Most of it was just for readability. A lot of acronyms that we're dealing with, wanted to make sure that we straightened them out, gave a little bit more spacing. But for the most part, there were a handful of additions that further clarify the work that we are doing on downtown redevelopment, be it in communities that were New York Forward or DRI recipients, and also on the performance measurements for the year ahead. Again, just stressing that that is ongoing work that our agency is actively involved with various communities.
I just have to catch that we've came to a number of different sites in the policy. Legal, some dated back to 2013. If you're just verifying it last.
Most of which we've conveyed back to Chris. He's got a laundry list that he's working through. But I don't think there's anything major that stood out, and I don't know how much time.
No. Certain ministerial changes. The government's going to
So you're talking about something really different than this. You're talking about the policies and procedures of the governance of the IDA.
Policies of the IDA, from our investment policy, our procurement policy, our ethics policy, things along those things, our bylaws. So we went through them in our committee meeting. In some of them, they were simply, is this still applicable? Has public authority law changed in this respect? And we've got some questions out to our council, just double checking the validity and accuracy and applicability of some of those.
The reason you vote on those policies today are because they can tell is there a need to approve the policy changes?
There isn't a need to approve it this meeting. You could approve a conditional approval, say you approve it with certain changes by council, or you can wait for next week.
I mean, honestly, I'd like to. I'd like to see a red line version of whatever you got, what you had, and then whatever the committee recommended. It's just so I can understand the thinking. That would be helpful for me. I'm just trying to get up to speed.
Because this, this is supposed to, a report to the board or to the community, right? So it's the full board on kids' activities for the year.
Well, but that's different. That's different. That's what's in my hand.
Yeah,
That's
it's in your hand, yeah.
right. I get that. I read that. But right. Okay.
I was just wondering also about the policy.
Mhm.
So it's not immediate need for us to approve those today, unlike it is.
Right, this needs to go in the
This is
CRC
what-
report.
this is to go in here.
Very supportive. I can add another, check the references and confirm that needs to be changed.
I'd also like to see the changes that we suggested. So I do, so this is did you have a chance to review the operations and accomplishments for the year?
I did.
Do you have any
Yeah, I had a
questions on those?
well, it's more about the format than anything else. And maybe this is just maybe because I just spent all my going through the hospital, which provides a lot of graphs and sort of summaries of. I guess there are a few key things like dollars invested, grants received by different communities, full-time jobs retained or added. I guess I'd like to somehow be able to track that on an annual basis, or whatever, like it's the goal. So I didn't say, oh, please send me 2025's goals. But it would be a way for me to compare them, to get a sense of, because the words don't really somehow convey in my mind, like, because there's a lot of words in here, and they're talking about, some of them are ongoing efforts that, just constant, and that's part of his job. It's just like, okay, push the rock up the hill. But then, but if we put specific, we have specific
I would go
goals.
as far as to say that what is normally the first couple or few projects are pilot agreements that we had inked or incentives that we had offered to projects that have been completed. So I mean, we could put together a pie chart, a graph, something. And this is a requirement, and we're following the format of what other IDAs are doing in New York State based on what New York State asks us to report on.
I guess I'm looking at it not comparing it to other ideas, but more to how to make it a more useful document for a board member to understand, like, what were our goals for this, last year, and what have we accomplished this year, and just to give us somewhat of a picture, and then going forward, the same thing.
So do you think you could do that as supplement to this? Keep the same format, supplement.
I would
A
appreciate
supplement to this is just, maybe the spreadsheets.
I would appreciate if it's something that we could shoot for in next year's reports, given the 3-day window that we have to get these reports.
Okay.
finished.
Right.
This is maybe,
Yeah, that's fine. Eventually, maybe you add it, but whatever.
you don't want to give them too much.
Yeah, I don't. Paris, it sounds so good. Right?
Well, the Paris is okay.
Okay, and I don't want to, I'm not.
What we have found is
Try
that
to do the minimum. Because
And what's
if it's good
necessary?
enough,
What's
because if it
necessary?
wasn't good enough, it wouldn't be the minimum.
And then honestly, you provide the ABO with more information,
use it as
just confusion. Generally more questions.
But you want to be able to see things that, digest all of it.
There are governance. Even though we're able to track a number of the jobs that we accomplished correctly, but there's also a lot of indirect, factors that might not be able to specifically say this was tied to this, but we do know that because of this, there was X amount of additional jobs. But I know that there was a good way of articulating.
Well, I think one of the points that we were discussing is the work that the IDA does that doesn't necessarily come up in what we've delivered. And we've added a few more of those, such as assisting with meeting with the Canastota Dairy folks, the new owners of Queensboro.
Queensboro, yeah.
The new owners came in, we convened a meeting with NYSERDA and National Grid and village officials. We encouraged them to work with a consultant to apply for a community development block grant, which which they hired. They did the analysis. They looked into energy efficiency upgrades. They applied for and received $630,000. They promised to retain 33 jobs. I'm sure you go from memory. But the point being, it's not an IDA activity that is, I've added it in because I feel that people are asking for more information. But historically, I wouldn't stake claim to that as a win as much as that's the stuff we do. So quantifying it, do I need a separate category of indirect impacts? I think I could be criticized for not tooting our horn enough or celebrating our wins. Again, I don't know how best to lay that out, but I think what used to be a 2-pager that is now a 4 or 5-pager is trying to at least encapsulate the stuff we do, the things we've accomplished.
One of my concerns is about that in general. And then also a lot of time it takes to do it graphically. And whether or not we're capable of having the time and expertise to do it.
It doesn't have to be graph. It could just be, a spreadsheet or a chart that just gives you a sense of these things. I don't know. I mean, you're saying basically what Kip's saying is, well, we're not really fully, the second bullet, directly or indirectly help secure commitments for up to 44 full-time employees. So that's related to the Albany Street holdings, right? Is that correct? Did I get that? Am I reading?
No, that is a separate bullet trying to quantify, as people ask, can you encapsulate all of the jobs that we directly and indirectly quantify?
Okay. And honestly, I just read this and I was like, oh, okay, so it must, I thought, 44 jobs related to Albany Street holdings. I didn't realize it was it's a separate collaborate calculation of all of them.
There will be commercial space associated with the 99 Albany Street. Primarily, it was a mixed-use commercial redevelopment with residential apartments. That was the project that we incentivized. As far as the jobs, should the commercial space become a restaurant, I don't think that we are going to be counting those jobs as directly related. I don't know if that it's necessary.
Right.
But as you will see on the 2026 performance measurements, the first bullet is just 1 to 3 businesses secure at least $14 million in new capital investments and secure direct commitments for at least 20 new full-time equivalent jobs. That's what I'm trying to accomplish in my top bullets. Albany Street was one that we closed on and is still under construction, and we want to make sure that it's out there. The Casbarn project is another that should be an impactful project that we've incentivized, and these are what they quantify the impacts will be. X number of square foot, X number of residential units, X amount of commercial space, X number of jobs. So we're trying to quantify those things, and again, I know it's the first time that you're seeing the first year that you're seeing the reports, but that's kind of the structure that other IDAs that we're trying to implement.
So you would have this, you're suggesting some sort of display, spreadsheet or something else. That, for example, would say, new buildings, commercial space. So there'd be a bunch of categories, and then you would have a row that said Albany Street holdings, and we do an all in one others category 13. And then Casbarn might be another one, how it is. I'm just trying to, I don't know.
Right. Well, again, I was just, and I don't know how, because I didn't see the prior year, so I don't know how that related to what was in the prior year's goals. So it's just a way to snapshot it, visually see it. So
I'm gonna drop that second bullet down to a third so that the Albany Street and the Cass Barnes are the first major, and then nobody's confused about the jobs associated with. But I think that provides a somewhat clear snapshot. Once you understand the format of what we're trying to convey, and again, just as you're asking, what was the capital investment? What was the new square footage? What were the residential units? It's boom, boom, boom.
Average of us and say, they're very, a little two-person economic development agencies doing a lot of work. They're very busy.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
And this is what it looks like every year.
Yes.
This kind of.
And those reports are out there in the, in the Paris report. You could pull every state agency, every IDA, including the Madison County IDA for the last 15 years. We've been reporting this data in this format.
Thinking about it with my old county supervisor hat, this might have been a helpful thing to have to go to the board to share with them once a year, after you've gotten approved. Because I think it would be helpful for everybody to see, because you often, you would summarize it, but having it in writing is really
I don't
helpful.
know for a fact, but I would assume that we still could go back and look at the 2022 calendar year planning committee meeting minutes IDA report and pull off the 8 to 12 activities that I've reported on year over year, or month over month for 12 months, and at least have a compiled list of 124.
Right, but it's just a very, the Department of Health is the same thing. Everybody kind of gives their annual report. I think it would be really helpful in communicating. Because it's hard to, especially with that committee, there's so many groups reporting it. How do you keep track of it all, right? But that's an aside. But yeah, this is just all about better communication and everybody understanding. So, for it.
To do a report monthly.
Some of these things, yeah.
More than these things.
Well,
I definitely get into the weeds
Never
with
been like
the
an annual.
right.
We do not. We don't hire a marketing firm. We don't put together a glossy annual report. And not, again,
I don't think you need to. I don't think, but this would be super helpful, I think, for board members, right? I mean, Kyle, what do you think?
Sure, absolutely.
This particular.
Yeah.
I mean,
Then we should say it, maybe not the whole, right? I don't know. Yeah, maybe the whole thing. I think it would be good. Right? I do think so, because I do think that the committee and the other agencies, as well as the board, would just, mark a benefit from it and, seeing what you're doing.
I was part of the planning committee for 2 years, prior to 2 years, and it was always great to hear you did a great job. I think it would be a good idea, maybe once a year for the full board, just, Jim coming in was kind of initiated bringing in different department heads to give every month. Usually we choose one to give an overview. Yeah, and to your point, not to have to go through the whole thing, but just kind of hit the high level ones. Maybe even the visuals you're talking about, because when you read through this, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
Not just the new jobs, but the retained jobs, and all the dollars we guys.
So a fine example, we just had a planning committee yesterday. And part of my report was, well, they attended the CNY Regional Planning and Development Board, which I'm appointed to by the board of supervisors. Part of their annual report was talking with the gentleman who's in charge of the contract that they have with the DEC about the 25 million new trees in New York State by 2053. And I gave an introduction to the planning director and city manager of the city of Oneida. I said, hey, they're going to start off working with cities. So the city of Portland, the city of Oneida, the city of Auburn are going to be the first ones to get a portion of these consulting fees to help underwrite planning for tree planting. And it will help with the beautification efforts for the downtown revitalization initiative, which they're a few years into, and tree plantings is part of their beautification. So again, a perfect example of something that I'll report to the planning committee, but I'm really not bothering to bring that minutia to this board. This is more of a higher level when I'm talking with, some things that I won't talk about at planning committee, like the Rural Equity Conference that had over 110 attendees just last week at Morrisville State College, or the 18 microenterprise grants I don't report on that because I allow Jocelyn and others who also participated to report. So again, just trying to maybe impress upon you that there's different forms of reporting, and we do a monthly report to the planning committee. That's you know, often this board, and I think I explained that to you even when we had coffee, that the planning committee usually gets more details. In fact, that, you know, some things are being video and recorded. I don't necessarily want to go into details either of projects that we have underway or people that are looking at, you know, sites or buildings. We want to stay more on the surface because people entrust us with some confidentiality, and I want to make sure that people know some of, you know, the activities that we're up to, but.
Right,
Not all the
no, I
details.
understand that completely, yeah, totally, right, absolutely. Yeah, there's a limit to what you're supposed to be sharing.
It's just kind of getting back to this, and I will try to make that adjustment, and for the 2026 calendar year, I will try to have maybe a supplemental document that just is very clear, what you might see in an annual report, but any other comments on the substance of the operations and accomplishments or goals set out for the year ahead, or anything that should be added, deleted, modified, thoughts?
This was reviewed by ours.
Went through it with a good fine-tooth comb. Thank you.
So there was one item, has to do with what Dan had sent around about Oswego County.
Yes.
Right, I was just,
So, you know, that might not fit for us, but it doesn't mean, and I don't even mean that.
no, I didn't mean that at all, just about.
So I was wondering, it occurred to me that there may be something similar to that we don't have ready. You know, and it might, something like that might jump out to us from the plan and so on. But is there some way that we could, as a goal, performance, add something about considering or investigating some, an opportunity, I was trying to write something out, investigate whether there's an opportunity to create a coordinated approach to.
Infrastructure development, that's what that is. Actually, that was kind of related to that. Also, my thought was just, in addition, what you have about the strategic plan really just says facilitating it, provides strategic guidance, but it doesn't say anything about trying to implement. In theory, maybe we'll be working to implement it by November, depending on how we're going to crack over these guys and gals, and hopefully get a quick report. I haven't even begun looking at those, but there are a lot, you know. I'm thinking that should be part of your mission for 26 would be to begin the process of implementing the goals, where IDA has the lead on that. Does that make sense to you, or does that seem like it's?
I think that's an option. Transition. That would be our goal to implement the plan. I think that's.
I mean, I would hope that we would have, the county would have, like, oh, we need infrastructure down, whatever, it's the Route 20 corridor that doesn't have the, you know, to develop more business parks, we need more infrastructure. To have more housing, we need more infrastructure. Oswego County had that in their plan. Now they actually got a grant to do some of it, right? So that's where I was thinking, that kind of step. So. Russ, is that addressed? That's the way I was looking at this. Just I am ambitious, you know that. Sorry.
It might not, I mean, just to be able to get the plan done within 2026.
Okay.
So maybe it's a 2027 goal rather than 2026.
Okay.
Something to remember.
Yeah.
Good work to complete the update to the strategic economic development plan.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Well, there was one group there thought they could do the whole thing in $500. Well, do the whole thing.
Some of that one was
There's only 3 people that were involved. They're charging
$200.
$300 an hour. They were going to do the whole report. 496 hours. At least that's what they were in charge. 496. So maybe it'll
Do
be.
you have time to pre-qualify these candidates and boil them down for us to maybe 8 or 9?
That one off to the top right away. The lead guy.
It's a big price tag,
I can't remember that.
$248,000 what I just came up with.
No, I think they broke it down to $185 and change.
Oh,
Based on the average.
That was the lead.
okay.
Yeah, he did break it down to there. I have not studied that. There's too much to digest.
Yeah.
And again, I still need to get these things done by, I think, Tuesday, and Wednesday is the scoring committee. I don't even think that that's realistically attainable.
Okay.
We will not be doing implementation.
What was the words you were suggesting? Yeah. Work to complete.
Work to complete the economic development strategic plan in the 2026. And to be clear, Evan, these documents can be shared with the world. You can pass that along to Mark and Jim and others that have an interest.
Sure.
Again, just don't hesitate. These are public documents. Right?
Yeah.
As you see fit.
And Russell, you comfortable without adding the other language about it? Because I don't know.
That was only my response. Looking response to you. It didn't make me think about it. I was going through those. No one seemed to have looked at the county and said, this is, we should be different. This is what we're going to study, and so forth and so on. And we should look especially near northwestern Madison County to see what the impact is of micron. I was a little surprised at that.
Yeah.
But they did, someone did say it. But I was, in my mind, I'm thinking micron, we're really talking about Thomas Sullivan at the largest scale. Nobody works more elsewhere, but
They should have the greatest
we're,
indirect impact.
I can't imagine that that's not going to be the biggest impact in Madison County, in housing especially, and the economic development in general.
Well,
I certainly would, if I was writing a report, I would have said, well, spend extra time on Thomas Sullivan and so on. And what is it, 6 miles from the site?
Think about how good those golf courses are going to go. Yeah.
right, but I would hope that the goal for a 5-year plan would be to make sure that some of that development got spread through. And what do we need to do to get it spread throughout the county, right? So that also should be, I don't say, yeah, those are the things we need in order to, enhance. Okay.
So what do we need?
If people are okay with the minor modifications, I would appreciate a motion to approve the 2025 accomplishments and the 2026 goals, and to recommend approval or review of the board assessment on the final page. If things signed and dated, that would be, I guess, a formal request with regard to the filing of the Paris report.
So, yeah.
So
Wait, can I just ask a question before we get to this? So on the evaluation, the third question was, if the board appoints management, do you have a policy to follow when appointing the management of the board? Is there a policy? Yeah. Okay, should we have one? This is not about changing this, obviously. If we don't have one, we can't. But in the future, do we need a policy? It's a policy about,
If the board appoints management, you have a policy you follow when appointing the management of the public authority. I don't know what process was followed when I was hired. We haven't hired anybody else besides.
That's not too.
Yeah. But these are standard questions that the ABO requires us to.
It just made me think, oh, we don't- okay, fine, if it's not something that we typically have and. Yeah, fine.
So the performance evaluation of the board members acknowledged and reviewed and read the mission statement. We read it for the start of the review. The power to appoint management is the IDA board. We don't have a policy for appointing management. We described the role, and we could beef that up if you think that that's not saying enough or is maybe going too far. Acknowledgement that you've read and understood and agreed to those questions. So Chris, as I understand it, we're asking for acceptance of the accomplishments, the acceptance of the goals, approval to file our Paris agreement. We upload all of these, so the ABO's got those also, in addition to the questions that we have and updates for the projects and debt retired and other information. I have a report from each of you as board members. I've got reports from myself as Amanda as staff. It's all part of
You know that.
I believe that motion is.
You got it.
I want to pretend it's like that.
You say that.
Move to second. Is there any further discussion? Not, roll call.
Reader,
Aye.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Bartos. Motion carried. Thank you. That was a good discussion. I appreciate it. If you guys don't mind signing so that Amanda can take that. Let's take them. Yeah. Just so we can keep track.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Our CPA, Keely will be in, she was anticipating a 3:00 start, which is probably what we discussed originally.
Yeah, I will leave it back. Yeah, if you want me to turn it off. Yep, 26.
Amanda is
So
over
we're
about
about all of your policy.
we, I believe,
Next.
once council has a chance to review the policies, we'll redline those, share them electronically before, and have this as an agenda item.
Okay, that's the report.
Appreciate it. Again, this is another report that we specifically are asked to produce, upload, and post online. I believe we're ringing the bell on this. We've made some modifications to make sure that our maturity dates have months and dates, but to give everybody a clear picture of what we've got invested, the interest earned. If there aren't any questions, I would ask once again for a motion to approve the submission of this to our Paris. Go ahead, Ms.
There's one of like, what is that, at the end of each day, they transfer the funds to other.
I'm under the impression they buy additional insurance above and beyond the FDIC insurance levels, which I think are capped at 250,000. I think that's changed in decades.
So I'm okay with this, but could you just check to see how they do that?
I've asked, I actually talked to the commercial bankers 2 weeks ago. It said, initially I saw on our audit that there was dangling out there $14,000 in uninsured balances based on needing to have 102% of your investments covered by collateral above and beyond. I said that was a trigger that I didn't necessarily, he said, we got that covered now. What we do is purchase additional insurance to insure you if anything happens to the bank, or if anything happens to your deposit. The government's got you through FDIC up to $250,000. Does that help? And would you like further clarification?
So they also back our department, securities, municipal bonds, treasuries, whatever considered.
My only
Secure
concern
investments.
on something like this is if for some reason Bank of Utica was under, why, why did it go under? Or why
Well, they have an obligation, they have an obligation to do this.
Sorry.
Here, I know we budget this pretty good.
That's what I was talking
My guess.
Okay, it's okay, I just.
Keely might be able to answer us when we get into the audit on how that works. Well, I recommend we wrap up IDA business if you're okay with that before we just.
So, we'll just recess.
Okay. We're recessing the IDA board meeting at 2:54.
Who's the chair? So, and,
Okay.
joint audit committee and CRC and GFC.
And we're just here with the least experience. Reports.
Great. If you don't mind me just chiming in,
Go ahead.
if we could recognize Keely from Bonadil CPAs. They have done our audit, and what Keely's just shared with you is a copy of the draft. She and I have reviewed it. I believe we've got a good report. I've asked her to give a summary, an overview, walk us through it, and answer any questions. I hope that's an okay introduction.
Thank you everyone for having me. I did just receive a message from Ashley.
No, I'm sorry, it's my fault.
We've been trying to juggle them.
Yeah,
We originally scheduled.
yeah, so I apologize. I don't know.
I'm busy.
Well, good. So thank you for having me today. So as Kip mentioned, yes, we completed the 12/31/2025 audit. So last year actually was the first year that Bonadil was engaged. So now we're old pros. My audit manager is Ashley Westover, who returned to the engagement. She's not joining me today, merely for the fact that she had 16 public authorities that needed to go out by March 31, and so she is still tying up some expense for other clients. So we have two documents in front of you, a copy of the financial statement, and then a one-page letter that sort of serves as a kind of report card, so to speak. So we'll quick run through that. So at the completion of our audit, the professional standards do require that we communicate to you all certain topics, and those are included on this one-page report. So we would have had to have identified if there were any new accounting policies or changes to accounting policies. There were none. We have to call out when there's any estimate in your financial statement. So not every single number is exactly tied to an invoice or a specific transaction. So two examples of those estimates are the estimated useful life around your fixed assets. So that makes sense, right? You purchased an asset even in your home, right? And you think, okay, I'm going to purchase this item and I'm going to hope that it lasts X number of years, and it's your best guess. So when you think
Just
about
washing some refrigerators never last as long as you hope.
I know, I was thinking that in my head, but I was sharing that. So you assign that estimated useful life, take that depreciation each year, lowering that again, it is based upon an estimate. So part of our audit is that we take a look at those estimated useful lives applied to see if they seem appropriate and reasonable to the industry assets, like things of that nature. Then the other estimate is on the net pension liability or asset. So hold that thought, we'll talk about that when we get into the actual numbers. But that dollar amount comes through from New York State.
And that's a question specifically about the depreciate the assets. So beyond this building, like what else do we own?
Yep, so you have, if you look at page 14, you're correct, the buildings and improvements, and then you have some furniture and equipment, and if I recall, you capitalize your buildings and improvements 7 to 40 years, and furniture and equipment 3 to 10, based upon what it is.
We don't, other than that, we don't own anything else. This is more of a general, like, there's nothing, no other asset that we have for some other purpose.
Your own property.
Right.
No, some
Right.
ideas.
Some ideas, some bigger corporations, like my counterpart in the North Country, St. Lawrence County, they don't have a lot of people doing spec building construction. They and their 8-person staff are able to purchase, acquire, and own, operate, and lease back to businesses to allow companies to grow and expand. We don't do that here, and we don't own any other property besides this. We're too red states.
Happy to report that there's no significant difficulties in dealing with management. So, folks sometimes wonder, what does that mean? When we ask for information, how everything is provided, the nature of our communication is transparent, clear, and cooperative. There were no misstatements detected as a result of our audit. So one of the things that folks need to remember is that as your independent auditor, we're supposed to not play too far of a role in your control environment, right? We're supposed to remain independent. So in the event that we come in and start proposing all of these changes based upon our testing, 2 things are happening. It's an indication that management is not getting it right on their own. But then we have to start talking about, okay, is it impairing our independence in some fashion, and that maybe we should serve as your external auditor. But again, happy to report that there were no misstatements. And that's also valuable to you folks too, because that's an indication that the information management is being used throughout the year is really all culminated together, ends up within this financial statement, right? So that's helpful as you folks navigate the year and make decisions and look at the activity, even though I won't be here once a year. I know disagreements with management in terms of how to properly report or ensure that the financial report is conformed with generally accepted accounting principles. There were no consultations with accountants that we would need to make you folks aware of. So an example would be if they were trying to report something in a maybe creative fashion, if they went to another firm in hopes of buying in or saying, well, how would you feel if we tried to do this? We're not aware of anything like that we would have to report to you. And then any of our discussions with management during the course of the audit or otherwise in what we would call regular off season was all the normal course of our professional relationship and was not tied or contingent upon our retention as the auditor. So high level, great report card. There's really nothing in here. So these are all the things that you want to see before we shift to the financial statement. Okay, so as I mentioned, your large stapled document is a draft of the financial statement. So just to give you a sense of where we are at, ultimately upon the acceptance of these drafts today and the receipt of the red letter, which I believe you sent to Ashley. Okay.
Letterhead for you.
Perfect. So as soon as we wrap up this meeting, we'll do the magic behind the scenes and get you folks, final signed PDFs tomorrow morning likely. And then that will follow up with, hard copies.
Require you to take the extract, we'll upload it to Paris, we'll post it on our website, and if anyone requests that, I can forward them.
You got it. Okay.
And if we need a hard copy, we'll first.
Okay. Thank you. We appreciate that. Especially at this time of year, because then we have to, our printers are running hot right now. So, okay. So on page 1 is our independent auditors report. And the second paragraph on page 1 specifically states, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above fairly present in all material respects the position of the agency. So that is the level of assurance that we can provide. So that's the report that you as a governing body would want to see from your auditor. We conducted our audit in accordance with the professional standards accepted in the United States of America, as well as the consideration for government auditing standards, which as a New York State public authority, that elevated scrutiny is required. And then a reminder to this group too is that in engaging us to complete your audit, that does not necessarily reduce or preclude the responsibilities of management, right? Like management still has to be responsible for the numbers and implementing appropriate internal controls and safeguarding the assets of the organization. Okay, so page 4 through 7 is the management discussion and analysis. This is really kind of a regurgitation of a lot of the same information. The Government Accounting Standards Board thinks that it's helpful for governments to include that in those additional schedules. I'm not sure that it really changes anybody's perspective or provides further clarity. The nice part is that it does include 2023, so you get some additional historical data, but I'm going to focus really primarily on the actual current year financial statements that we get on page 8. So page 8 is your statement of net position. So think of this as a balance sheet and a snapshot in time at December 31st, 2025 with some comparative totals for 24. So this represents your assets and your liabilities at 12/31 and the difference between. So it's really what did I have, what did I owe other people, and what's the difference. So at 12/31/2025, you have in the total column just over 3.4 million in assets compared to 3.1 last year. And then with regards to your liabilities, those remain relatively flat with some small accounts payable and accrued expenses, as well as a small net pension liability in the grand scheme of things. And that's the number that I want to just pause on to make sure that everybody understands that number. So the organization, because there are employees that participate in the New York State pension plan, a bill will come for the costs associated with the employees participating in that plan. What happened is about 10 or so years ago, the Government Accounting Standards Board said, we think it'll be or allow for further transparency if all of the governments participating in the plan record their little share of the ultimate long-term liability associated with that. So what happens is at a very high level at New York State, they run this massive multi-billion-dollar plan on an annual basis. They have a firm come in and they say, you have this many billions in assets. And then we think based upon all these assumptions of mortality and inflationary rate adjustments that we think ultimately you're going to owe this many billions of dollars in pension plan expenses. Though the difference between those two can sometimes be an asset if the market is doing really, really well that point where it's measured, or you could have a deficit. In the case that the New York State plan has a deficit, every single government that has employees participating in the plan will get their tiny little sliver of that shortfall in the plan. That's what that number represents. So that number comes directly from New York State. And again, I say it's relatively small. Yes, $100,000 for you folks feels like a very large number. But if you go somewhere like County, or you're looking at millions and millions because of the higher volume of employees. Now, what does that number mean to you folks? Not really a whole lot. You're going to continue to pay the pension bills as they become due, but apparently this is going to help you make decisions, right? Like that's what the government accounting standards board says, is that it needs to be accounted for and included in the financial statements, but it's really not going to change anything. You'll pay the bill when it becomes due, and your employees will continue to participate in the plan. And then down at the bottom, your total net position, which think of it as equity, if you're more familiar with that term, so it's your assets minus those liabilities, to the tune of 3.372 versus 3 million in the prior year. And then you will see that unrestricted is just over 2.75 million. The significance of that really means that those are available net assets, right? You're not being restricted by any sort of donor imposition or enabling legislation. Like those resources are available for the IDA operations, whereas that 281,000 really is for the value of your net assets that are wrapped up in fixed assets, right? Because presumably what they're saying is you wouldn't just be able to simply liquidate this building, right? Because without it, would you really be able to carry out your operation? So big picture, you're very, very healthy. Most of your net position is unrestricted and available for your mission. So very, very healthy in that perspective. Real quick pause. I'm sorry. That's outside of my. Sorry. Up at the top under assets, I just want to point out where a pretty large flux happened. You will see the second number or second line down under assets is has a $200,000 balance under MGFC. So that has to do with 2 promissory notes that are due from partnership for community development, and then that is new partnership. So that's what that represents, and that was new to right here.
If I could ask, because I'm very familiar with those 2 projects. Where was that? Okay, so loans were made.
Yep.
Didn't the MGFC have that money someplace else? How do they make the loan if they didn't have it as an asset?
So basically what happens is for that particular transaction, almost think about it is that there were 4 lines happening in that entry. And if you flip over and look at page 9 for the revenues and expenses, you'll see $200,000 in revenues and expenses. So what happened was that cash went out the door, right? So if you look, in simple terms, there was $500,000 in cash last year spread across all of the entities. And that a portion of cash, $200,000 went out the door and an expense was reported. But then because you're owed that back, a revenue got recorded and a note receivable.
Okay, so if I was to look at this in 2024, the same sheet, it would have shown the cash across all 3 entities.
Well, no, presumably MGFC would have had a higher cash balance. Well, I guess I can't speak. I don't want to say that with 100% certainty because I don't know when the cash changed. Like potentially, I just don't remember the details of the 2024 numbers, but somewhere between 12/31/2024 and 2025, that cash was essentially out the door and then reported for the revenue and then receivable. Moving over to page 9, the statement of activities, you can think of this as a profit and loss statement. So this represents your revenues and expenses for the entire 12 months ending 12/31/25 and 2024. The couple things that I would like to point out is you had some kind of different type transactions that were not necessarily consistent with last year, one being the 200,000 promissory note transactions that we just discussed. And then the big one under charges for services, a total of 768,000 is on the very first line. That had to do with the Colgate University project. So that brought in a significant amount of revenue. And then if you look about 3/4 of the way down, there were some project expenses still under that CRC for $300,000. And that had to do with development and construction in the village and town of Hamilton. But really that driver is how, if you look 3/4 of the way down, you have a net operating income this year of about 287,000 versus last year a loss of just over 80,000. So again, the big driver is really that Colgate, those Colgate dollars.
That's correct.
So, and then in the, under the same, in the CRC, the contract expense, 105,593, that's paid to the bond council or something.
That is the Economic Development Services Agreement for the Capital Resource Corporation, the CRC, is the IDA to administer economic development services.
If you look, you can actually see it in both columns.
Okay.
It's sitting in the IDA revenue,
Yep,
CRC expenses, and then it's included in that elimination column, because when we bring them together, right, we don't want to gross that up, we want to wash it out.
I see. So I didn't, that's a mechanism that just basically.
The CRC doesn't have any employees,
Okay,
right?
so you pay.
Officially, the CEO of the organization, it has no staff. The IDA does all of the staffing for all three. And that is the
So
Economic
those
Development
bonds-
Services Agreement.
when
One
those
way
bonds
to get
are
money
paid.
from, we want to kind
Got
of
it.
help us operate.
And it would have been larger if you hadn't also shared it with, if you hadn't reinvested it in the project. The
Now, we have
300.
an annual contract that increases based on inflation or stays the same year over year.
You don't have CRCs.
Yeah, I guess CRC would have had, well, there would have been.
CRC, in doing bond deals, it's usually one of our biggest revenue sources.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, on the CRC side, we've shared revenue with communities
Yeah.
that are impacted.
Yeah.
And then the Economic Development Services Agreement, approximately $100,000 a year, helps to supplement the operations of the IDA and do the work of the CRC.
Any questions before we get into the footnotes? Page 10 really is a cash flow statement. So it is supposed to represent truly the ins and the outs of the cash, based upon categories in terms of inflows and outflows. We typically don't spend a whole lot of time on it. It really just takes you from the beginning balance of cash of the prior year and carries you forward to that ending cash balance. So page 11 is the first page of the financial statement footnotes. So footnote 1 gives, context and color commentary on the agency itself, and the formation and the overall mission and operational objectives. Footnote 2 is summary of significant accounting policies. It really just kind of runs down what you have going on and how things are measured, and discusses whether there's concerns with collectability around receivables, gives you the capitalization of capital assets. So again, nothing out of the ordinary or foreign there. you're having trouble sleeping tonight, I would suggest that footnote in particular. Page 3, or excuse me, footnote 3, page 13, is your cash and investments. So it will provide you what the actual bank balance was of your bank accounts at 12/31/25 and 12/31. Sure.
The last paragraph, specifically the last sentence, Russ was asking before about the amounts that are held on deposit, that are invested in CDs, that are above and beyond the FDIC insurance cap. Could you explain how that is insured by the bank, or?
So I believe, because I think that this was the outstanding item that you guys got collateralized, right? So
That's the way we describe it in our investment report.
Yeah. So that's a mechanism for covering those dollars when you are in excess of that baseline FDIC. So that's a mechanism for saying, hey, we are protecting the assets.
I know that one way that banks can do that is to give you a maximum CD amount. If you're buying a $350,000 CD, one CD at $250 and another at $100, so that you don't exceed it in each account. FDIC insurance is the way that it works. I believe that the way that the bank has described, they buy additional collateralized insurance for us above and beyond that. Does that make sense for answering the question that you had? Or is it more of the mechanism and how it works?
I think I know how it works. Let me check on it.
They check on it, actually. You guys call bank.
Yes, so we received a statement that essentially attests to that, okay, you've got your FDIC coverage for this portion and then you're collateralized for whatever.
That's really my
So
question.
that comes annually to you.
It doesn't come just, you have to request the information.
They would identify that. They would say, this is why we should buy a school district.
You love the certificate.
I think it's Intel stock. No, I'm being serious.
I guess, I think from an education point of view, from the board, it's just, well, if you're requesting it, we saw it, so that we knew, just understood it. That's what Russ is asking, the mechanism, and I am too. Like, is it insurance or is it actual assets
and I
that the
think
bank owns that they allocate? That was, like, I know for the county, for the town, that's how the town works. Is, and I can't remember now, whatever the name of that.
Then you would get a statement, sounds like running just a statement. Bank, they tell you how your deposits are collateralized.
Yeah.
So they identify, right, they identify.
Yeah, because we can't get it, anything with numbers.
It's the same as.
Okay, I just, yeah, that makes more sense to me than insurance.
That's why, how do we get sure?
There we go. Yeah, I like it. Closer, that is.
Didn't expect that question, did Kyle? I'm sorry, thank you for that extra.
So page 14, footnote 5, so we've touched on this briefly. That's where you can see your capital asset balances. So it'll take you from your beginning balance at January 1. So you'll see in that schedule that there were no additions or deductions this year. So that means that there were no asset purchases or acquisitions, and there was nothing disposed of. So you'll see that really the only change that's happening is within the accumulated depreciation. So it goes back to that whole depreciation expense that got recorded for the year. And then that net $281,000 of capital assets would tie right back nicely to your statement net position. And then page 15 has a comparative capital asset schedule. So that would be the one for 12/31/2024. Page 16 and or footnote 6 is a whole lot of pages about the pension plan. So it talks about everything from membership tiers, where you can get a copy of the plan with, or from New York State. The real takeaway is, again, as I had mentioned to you folks, that this year in particular, on page 17, in the second to the last paragraph, it specifically identifies that at year end, a net pension liability of $131,000 exists for the agency's proportionate share of that ERS pension total. And then the following schedules in that footnote provide some deferred inflows and outflows. Without getting very granular into the technical accounting, it's just simply a means for measuring everything at December 31st. Because what happens is New York State goes and does these valuations and measures at March 31. So then to carry forward to the organization's actual year end, it does create some of these differences. So there is really accounting mechanisms that are allowing for as good of an estimated proper number at year end that you can come up with. And then page 19 will give some portfolio and investment information. Again, remember, you have zero control over any of this information. It's all New York State's plan. But again, the government accounting standard report thinks it needs to be in here, provided context for your financial statements. So that'll carry you all the way to the end, because you end up with quite a few pages because you have to provide disclosures for 2025 and 2024. And then page 24 is some required supplementary information. And that is starting to build out for you some historical data on that pension plan proportionate share that'll build out and be disclosed for 10 years, and then we'll continue to roll forward, but we'll build that out as we continue to provide services. The standard pre-existed and this schedule was required before 2023. The reason that the schedule starts in 2023 is your predecessor wasn't including it in your financial statements. So in those circumstances, we are not required to dig back and provide us all of that information. We can simply pick up with where we're starting and we'll start the 10-year build out as is required. And then page 25 and 26. If you remember, I told you that we performed the audit according to generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards. So the government auditing standards does require that you provide a specific report. This report is all required language and it says a lot to say a lot of nothing. We have no findings. So it defines what a control deficiency is, it defines a significant deficiency, it defines a material weakness, and talks about non-compliance that could have material bearing on the financial reporting, all for us to say, but by the way, we found nothing. So we have to communicate that, but really this is a book standard, top-notch audit result. This is what you folks are looking for, so really good news. Nice way to kind of work our way into the weekend.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions?
Nice job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I apologize for possibly having folks hang longer.
We didn't know that was going to be a 2 o'clock start.
We got business. We took care of some business.
Yeah. Keely, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So assuming that the board adopts the recommendation from the audit committee, this will be posted, final draft, by March. Full boards.
Recommend it to full board.
So moved.
Any first and a second?
I thought I did. I did. Be so moved.
All those in favor?
Yep.
Very good.
Yeah.
Kelly, thank you so much.
Of course, nice seeing you
Appreciate
all,
you coming in.
and we will get that to you first thing in the morning.
Sounds good.
Yes, I'll try, I'll call Ashley, you might even have it yesterday, today.
We're not going to address it tonight, so.
You left it nice.
Wow. That is a
That's so nice. Enjoy it. We got more of the opposite too. That was very nice. That was so nice. Enjoy it. Got something fun to write. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Yes, there was some business. We did not approve the minutes from March 27th. So, those of you who are.
First and second. Can we move it even if we weren't here?
Sure can.
That looked great. I will make that motion. I read through them, but it's not.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Which one are we doing?
Bottom one, this is the.
From the minutes.
From the committee.
First down. Business. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
No further business, no further adjourn.
No, we have to, move the.
I thought we did
I
that.
just did that, yeah.
Yes,
just-
okay.
Need a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Any second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
We had idea for directors meeting. And left off with the chair's report, updates from committees. Our committee, you have to report.
We just had our annual review of the auditor's report, and we are prepared to make a recommendation that we accept the audit for 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the audit report?
I'll move that.
Yes, I report. Move to second, moved by Eva Schwartz, second by Rose Moore. Any further discussion? Not. Roll call. Reader.
Aye.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Ramos. Aye.
Great, thank you.
Let's say discussion.
I don't want to know this. I do have one question about it.
We did. Yeah.
We got you seconding that motion.
You were in the audit committee, you took a motion to recommend to the full board to accept the audit. Now that we're in the full board of the IDA, that was a motion to accept the audit.
As presented. Yes.
All right. You had a question?
My question was just, what does our audit cost?
$7,500.
No, 17,500.
What did I say?
7,500.
I saw it in my head.
Yeah, most of it.
Just need one, 10 that's
$10,000 here and there.
Wow.
So the CRC.
It covers all three entities.
I know, it's still, it's a lot of money for a very simple set of balance.
We went out in RFP a few years ago, and one of their things was, we can keep our costs reasonable, but we really need to have some assurance, if we could, that they'll have us year over year. Because it takes a lot of time in year one to load the data that's necessary, and it's much easier in years after. But they were the most competent, highest rated of the firms that we went out. And unfortunately, we used to use Gustafson, and they decided that they were getting away with our government auditing.
They did it for a lot less, I mean, it's.
We see that. They're excellent. Yeah.
And, it's something that we had with Gustafson was, as far as local accountants, not a lot of them deal with IDAs. And should find somebody that specializes in it.
There's a lot.
attorneys who recognize or understand the pilot agreements and bond counsel. It's a specialized group. 17, they're trying to wrap up.
Public authorities.
Public authorities.
I need some public authorities, some of them might be.
When I say so.
I may be mistaken, but I believe that the investment report still requires review, comment. We ended on Russ's question, I believe, with regards to the adjourned. Or the adjourned or recessed.
You're satisfied not having
We just
someone
need to make a motion.
Right.
Just curious what.
I will make a motion to accept the investment.
Seconded. Any further discussion? Now, roll call. Rigor?
Yes.
Yes.
Merrill?
Yes.
Burgos?
Thank you.
I've just never seen that actual letter.
Now we know. You've educated your 2 board members.
That's right.
We'll have to bring that to speed.
Apologies question whether or not, those investments that collateral is backed by our deposits, is that consistent with our investment policy? So, because at the town level, we would say not acceptable, we would have it backed by investments that we could invest in, which would be government backed securities.
Yeah.
So,
I could not.
can you look into that? Look into that.
Top of my head,
Yeah, municipal.
So,
we'll check it.
That makes sense.
In town, we're on the board.
Yeah.
well, that's one of the,
We'll look at it.
but the commercial bank should know the rules.
Yeah.
But they also don't know what our investment policy is. But I think our investment policy is established by state law, chief term, municipal law. So,
I don't think the banks are.
You're saying that the insurance coverage by the bank is outside of what we would find acceptable investments based on our
Insurance,
insurance.
no, insurance, but we're talking about what the.
Collateral. Talk about the collateral. It's
It's
backing our deposit. For the townships.
It's more limited.
Municipal bonds, issued by schools. Governments.
Which our investment report does specifically identify.
I've never seen that, that's for something. I thought you were joking.
All right. Good. That's, if we just have one good thing about this process.
We gotta buy those things.
You know, when I'm talking about like a correction, because this is very deadly, but it's good. We have some little area and go, okay.
So it's the town, I mean, the banks were obligated to do that. They could not hold our deposits without doing insurance. I don't know for.
And I guess the alternative again is to separate each of our CDs to a $250,000 max over.
No, it still has to be collateralized. You matter what.
Not by account?
They have to do it.
That's what-
That's
Maybe a
their
map-
requirement.
map is-
You can-
makes sense.
We have to go to the bank. CDs. With the banks. That's what it's just common sense.
New York State.
That's the way that I remembered it. How you help to ensure that they were fully covered by federal.
We have. Okay.
Okay.
I think I would ask that question here. But, yeah, security.
Yeah. I'll just, interesting
Yeah.
to note
I
on the
think you
investment
would check
report,
everything, yeah.
the interest rates are flat, the yield curve, 3.94% APR or APY across multi-year investment time. And we've got the CDs that are maturing that we're trying to, from an investment perspective, buy the furthest out. So the one, each year one matures, we buy the furthest run so that we can maximize the greatest rate of return with another run return a year later based on our needs.
So when governance committee reviews policy, and then are they going to review the investment policy as well?
As part of it.
Personnel policy, that was something that was going to take on the project. Right?
Was something that we've asked for. Chris has got his experts in the HR division, and Thompson was looking into scrapping what we had as
Yeah.
well.
They're exactly.
So our policy,
Personnel policy we're talking about.
not the personnel.
Personnel policy.
Yeah. So our policy in the past has been, we didn't have a policy that addressed it specifically. We thought like the county, whatever their policy.
That was a
would be a
general-
guiding document
Yeah.
for us. So
Which there's some faults in that Russ has pointed out, which is what's pushing us to have our own in-house personnel policy. Because there are things like accrued vacation and sick days that could be paid out for pension, and we don't do. Or at least it's been explained to me that that doesn't happen here.
you would have to keep track of.
Right.
That would be more.
Well, yes. So we will get, again, these are more of the administrative behind the scenes background stuff that we'll continue to chip away with that. And, you know, I think unfortunately for the government committee members, we might just need a little bit more often and maybe tackle the policies a couple at a time instead of trying to go through all 10 or 12.
You can attend those meetings.
I was just gonna say,
You are.
I withdraw my request to be placed on the governance committee.
I really appreciate the work.
Oh my gosh. And unfortunately, he's tough too. Depends on your perspective.
That's the busiest. So, executive director's report.
So we, I have a formal request, gosh, man, it's we included in the handouts. A request by the folks representing Kaz Barnes in today.
I have
It's attached to the resolution.
Oh, thank you. We'll circulate.
thank you.
Have you got that to circulate?
Somewhere.
Essentially, you've spoken with them, on all of their projects that they're trying to develop up on the hill in Casnonia, down from the Hampton Inn. The Kaz Barnes is a 4-apartment building, 16 units per 64 residential units, apartment complex that the foundations and infrastructure are in place, but they haven't built up. It has not been their investment priority to complete that project yet. We have a deadline on their existing benefits to expire December 31st of 2026. The reality is they hope to get started on this, on building up in 2026. They're asking us kindly to consider extending the benefit to December 31st of 2027. And I thought since the documents are still being drawn up or need to get finalized, that we might bring this, because it's a realistic deadline. The fact of the matter is, we're only offering sales and mortgage reporting benefits. There is not a pilot associated with this project. They have intentions, the groundwork is there. I would just rather not have an additional burden on them. We've offered to incentivize the project. We need more housing in Madison County. So that request has come to us for the board to consider with the resolution that's before you. Resolution,
Sorry.
Chris, please.
I just want to jump in. I want to, first of all, my partner and apologies, we mentioned, ex-board members. So we're going to fix that, no worries. The request letters in exhibit A, as Mr. Bud mentioned, there's, we always ask, whenever a project applicant wants extension of sales tax or some mortgage supporting tax, etc., we always make them do a formal request rather than attached to the resolution. To actually implement this, we would do a modification document to update the expiration date of the sales tax exemption to reflect 12/31/2027. We also filed an amended ST60. That's the form the IDA signs. We filed with the State Department of Tax and Assessment. I know we would let them know that the sales tax exemption would be pretty standard to just all the time for ID clients based on facts and circumstances. Whether it's one or
Where are they in the phase of construction right now?
Still, I would say phase one, they've done the groundwork, some pre-construction groundwork. They've laid a foundation and the infrastructure that was extended to the building foundation. Their current focus, I think I'm going to say, has been on commercial and potential medical mixed use. That's really been the focus of their attention. But that entire area, you probably have a better handle on this. But it's the same developers and folks that were involved in the Hampton Inn, everything across the street from the town. It is, but they're going to need more time. That's the blunt reality based on my meeting.
just a reminder, they asked for mortgage tax.
That's true.
But not real.
So motion to approve the resolution? Second. By Ms. Schwartz. Any further discussion? Not roll call.
Krieger?
Aye.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Laura? Carlos?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Chris, help me out. All seasonings ingredients. We don't have any.
Yes, so all seasons ingredients for the project. They reached out to me, part of the requesting new mortgage. So just to step back for a second. Typically, when a project applicant asks for a new loan, the bank does the title search. Okay, who's this? The idea of the title report, right? Because we have a leasehold interest in the property. We need a leasehold interest in the property. We do a lease back to the company. We're going to qualify for the sales tax exemption, highlight exemption. In drilling this down and talking with the lawyer, they learned that apparently, this is what it sounds like this relates to properties unrelated to the IDA's spec structure. So, in other words, if it's outside of the property covered by the pilot, the IDA would sign mortgage related to that because we don't have the interest in that property. So we're going back and forth with the attorney. I think that she's mistaken. If it in fact relates to the property subject to leasehold interest, the IDA would sign those, and we always sign those in the procedure, because the bank won't loan that money to the project applicant unless the IDA signs it. That's the long and short of it, so I guess stay tuned. I'm not too concerned about it.
So Russ, you'll probably understand this better, but they had the original all seasons facility. And then they expanded, and our agency helped to incentivize those two buildings. They have since gone out and purchased Mike Hall's building, which was the office equipment building. They simply acquired that. They also have an interest in, or a lease in, a property over at Sherrill Manufacturing in Omega County. That was new construction. When they came to us for their company's growth, they were promising to retain 60 employees and add 10. They're up to 131 employees. They're going by leaps and bounds. They're doing great. As I understood it from their attorney when they approached us, they were putting on a new mortgage, and it encompasses, that mortgage includes the buildings that you guys incentivize, which is why we need you to sign off.
Consolidating mortgage.
Yes. So I guess.
I don't think they're combining tax maps or anything along those lines.
Just looking at the
They could because of the pilots.
One option. In case it turns out they actually need this mortgage property, you could by voice vote approve the ID signing if in fact it relates to property subject to the ID condition on that. We've done that before as well. Does that make sense?
I would be most comfortable with that as we sort it out, since we are together and have a voice. The fact of the matter, if they default on their mortgage, it's not the obligation of the IDA, it's not the obligation of Madison County, it's not the obligation of anyone else. It's just us authorizing them as they grow to be able to mortgage in another property that's helping them.
Does that authorize them to exempt mortgage tax, recording tax?
They are not seeking that,
So they're still paying them.
Yeah.
and they have not. It hasn't been part of our discussion.
My only concern here is that it turns out the attorney was correct. And they said we need to close this long.
I would need
And
to,
then, you know, we don't have.
I would need to convene you guys to get the one, not one item.
To avoid that, I think my recommendation is to have a placeholder consideration. That if they need the IDA's approval, signing on to this additional mortgage, the idea would less going with that. Those conditions.
And then we just.
Would be my signature.
No, a letter. You send a letter.
They would ask me to sign off on a document on the mortgage, because we're a party too. If that is the case.
We, whenever we get a mortgage, we check.
So you would be seeing, you would be reviewing that document.
100%.
Okay.
So there's no exemption on refinance. We don't exempt refinance.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
So the one thing you want to shop for.
Yep.
If they refinance in a few years, we do not.
Give them a second. That's right. Okay.
So I guess I'm asking for a motion to approve a mortgage to
The IDA signing a mortgage document.
Our try is an executive director to sign.
I will make that motion.
With condition. Condition upon it being necessary and subject to, that it is in fact subject to reasonable interest. Or let the, how about that? It's a hell of a long motion. That's it.
Assuming it's necessary and reviewed by lawyers. Our lawyers.
You said voice vote. It's moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
You may not need that.
No.
Unless they are, you think they're consolidating.
That's the way, I'm under the impression they're grouping all of their different and refinancing probably. The rates have come down slightly. My only other item on old business would be Johnson Brothers Lumber. As we reported at the last meeting, we did send out a formal letter. Chris sent it out from his office, certified mail, indicating that they are in default. I since talked with Mike via electronic communications. He has assured me that they would reach out to the school and make their payment. The school has been promised that the check is in the mail. I expect that it could have been received today, though I haven't received a call based on my voicemail from the school. But I also heard from Melissa during the day, yesterday at the planning committee meeting, that the town might be missing their pilot payment, which I simply communicated with Mike that based on the 15-day notification, based on the default letter, I'm going to need to bring all of this to the board. And he said, well, I'd just like to assure you that we will check our records, and if the payment hasn't been made, we will make it. And then side note, which may or may not influence any decisions, Greg Jaluski from the Department of Solid Waste recently toured a gentleman referred by Mike Johnson to the drying kiln facilities, a gentleman in the lumber industry who has some interest. I have not connected with Dal yet, but we've swapped voicemail for the phone tag at the moment. So I just, based on, he has an interest in acquiring it, and I'm sure he probably has an interest in knowing if there's any tax breaks associated with it, such as stepping into the shoes of the existing or assuming the remaining benefits related to the Johnson Brothers agreement.
What's your recourse on
So, yeah, so, before I get to that,
I'd give you a penalty if you wanted to.
so as the letter went on March 3rd, the pilot agreement, one of the items of default was not making the functional payment pilot. You know, so we sent a default letter, says within 15 days, we make this payment, or one of the options is no, it's not, I need to come in. So that date is passed in March 18th. I'm bringing this to your attention because, again, this is just, I don't want to give you some advice, but the project itself has not been operational for some time, correct?
Correct.
So I guess I'm not trying to make you guys in one way or the other, but this would be a situation where the idea, I think, ought to be look pretty good in terms of the pilot agreement, put it back in the text. No, that's just one of these things.
Now, also throw out, which they would probably try to defend that situation, the landfill has not been producing the heat from the landfill gas to energy production facility in the same amount of time. And because they don't have access to that heat, which is why they built there, if the heat were available, their comment would be that they would resume operations or find a user that could use it. To tell you that the gentleman who was interested in the property, his plan would be to supplement and use propane with the hopeful opportunity that landfill gas heat or landfill gas methane, landfill methane could be used as a heat source for a future lumber kiln operation.
The answer to your question, of the pilot, but not easy, right? You're subject to the judge.
So the
Okay,
easement.
well, what about, what about, well,
We don't have a pilot mortgage on that property. So we do that.
what about liens? Are we, I mean, we're out, we're kind of, we've always taken the responsibility to contact the businesses that have pilots and make those things for help, right? Yeah, a lot of them can't. But,
Yeah, they would not have a lien on
no, because it's over to the village or school, it's just a county.
it. All they have is the subject, we're past them.
And I will say that one of the calculations that the school needed to perform to share with Johnson Brothers, when a company fails to make their payment on time, a 5% penalty in month one and a 1% every month for each month that they're late on their payment. So a first year would be a nice one.
So those tax jurisdictions all have stamp. They could put.
Not a litigator, but they can certainly sue for breach of contract because they're all that on the pilot. Now,
Would be worth a while.
everything that I know about that is
We haven't had that problem, but we've come close on a couple of projects. So, I just want to know what we should be doing, how we should set things up, be proactive so that everybody gets
well,
paid.
the interesting thing here is, usually a letter like this, with the attorney's office
It's worked.
gets their attention. The underlying issue here, though, is that's one thing the project's operating during the design to have a project with the idea. Here, you've got a project managed with the landfill, but it's just like a market. So one of the arguments is, well, why are they getting idea benefits at this point? Why are we still giving them a pilot and then we save on property tax when they're not?
Well, they certainly make the argument as a possibility, because they shut down the plant, provide heat, right, or lumber, so.
Is it division prior to PP?
I think that was the trigger.
I think that was the trigger. They weren't getting adequate heat to make it. But they were also going up.
Yeah, I think there was more
You
to
probably
it.
know more about
I
that.
think there was more to it than that.
Things had slowed down.
The methane gathering system was not performing as it should. The operators of the landfill gas to energy facility was the waste management renewable energy, who had the Caterpillar engine, who had a contract to operate according to Madison County, who eventually said, we're going to terminate our contract early, we're going to pay off the county, and the county can enjoy the building that we built, and we're taking our building. Is that?
That's fair. Well, the actual timing of each of these events, I don't remember. It happened about 3 or 4 years ago.
I don't
It's
doubt
been a
that it
while.
was roughly the chain of events.
Right.
Right, that system wasn't producing. It was on kind of, the landfill wasn't digesting and producing as much methane, and there was water in the system. I don't know the tech. They brought in Martin and Judas, who did a bunch of studies.
It wasn't producing enough electricity to make it worthwhile, to keep on. That's why they built the generator out there.
This may not come into a point of consideration. They have two buildings up there. One is a metal that sits on concrete, and that is the drying kilns that takes in the heat and does the drying. They have an extra building outside that's got concrete blocks and a tarp. And that is not a permanent structure, and I don't think that's something to contribute to the taxability of the property. I think that the metal building, reasonably, unlike another building, could be taken down, moved elsewhere, and operate. So my only comment is, in a pilot payment, there's a certain amount that's being paid based on the facility now. If there were a tax liability that was large enough, it might behoove somebody to take it down. But I think Chris is absolutely on right on the principle that it's not being used and they don't have those jobs that we were anticipating. Therefore, we ought to find, there ought to be an action. And I've discussed that with the town supervisor, and I said, you know, your revenue is probably higher for this pilot than it would be if there were nothing operating there.
So you have to put together the findings and then the resolution for us to terminate the pilot.
No, I think we could
Is
do that.
that by voice vote?
And I don't mean to sound like a cool lawyer here, but, you know, their issues from a business perspective.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably.
So, and in terms of the future, okay, and how it might affect someone coming in to come in and operate, whoever has toured the site and is potentially interested. I mean, they could come back and apply for a new pilot, right? We don't, and I think it would be much more appropriate, honestly, based on, you know, what will happen. Then we would be able to.
If the property does go back on the tax rolls, I don't think that our agency, at least historically, would go and take something off the tax rolls and it's already back on the tax rolls. So if we find somebody building on a greenfield, Green Empire Farms, bought the farm field, they pay 100% taxes on the land. We don't incentivize it. We don't take it off the tax rolls at the tax revenue that the people have been receiving. When they put a $78 million greenhouse on top of it, we are going to incentivize those improvements.
The payments are.
Right.
So I guess my comment is, if the pilot goes away and that property goes on the tax rolls and somebody says, hey, can you pull this off the tax rolls and give us a pilot? I think the answer needs to be no.
Well, it depends. So if they're going to promise, they're going to make a capital investment.
Above and beyond.
Above and beyond.
There would be above and beyond.
Yeah, it's gotta be some, more jobs. So, if we put it back after we find a rich contract, tax rules, and then there's, at least there's recourse that it goes in the tax rules. One, it won't be effective until next March. March 1st.
Good point.
No, actually, that'll be,
Yeah, is it immediate?
Yeah.
So, when-
because we just discovered this with Good Nature Brewing Company. You're familiar with what's going on there.
It's like in reverse, we want to put it on the goal section A, but when you say, put back on the tax roll, so we
going forward.
the idea we signed a termination lease, termination of lease, it's a bill of sale, put the property back to them. We file that, those, we record those taxes, we let the assessor know, as of the date the assessor gets that termination information called back on.
Because when we haven't done it before. And again, Russ and I were emails about this.
You did?
Oh, it was yesterday or today. The Good Nature Brewing Company. And I've always been, I've talked with Ryan, I've talked with Debbie Sewell and others and said, we need to wait for, because we're always doing it in one direction, which is to take a property off the tax rolls, we have to wait for the taxable status day. We have to get it on roll section 8.
You're going reverse.
Since we've never done it, I would be the first to admit that I didn't realize that when it goes back on the tax rolls based on default or based on something else, it can be immediate. Which,
So what happened was that village treasurer said, we're not going to do tax. I said, it didn't make sense to me, so I contacted Phil. And
give them wrong information. Yeah, the Office of Real Property had a few people weigh in on it.
That's good news.
And Jim Stokes was in there too.
Did someone purchase the property at the auction? Is that over with?
I have been told by a third party, nobody associated with anything. I saw it on LoopNet that it was for sale, that it was going to be for auction, that there was a base price of $375,000, that anything above was going to sell. And I was told that it sold for $575,000. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know who did it. I've asked the question. Nobody else seems to know. Eventually, paperwork will get filed with the county. I don't know when that comes in, but I can check with Mike Hill.
But it's gonna go back on the tax rolls at its original.
When did you approve that resolution?
Good nature?
The determination.
That we did August. Yeah,
Determination.
yeah, we sent formal notification.
Yeah.
I know it's confusing it a lot. I'm sorry. They got a letter. Town got a letter, village got a letter, school got a letter, county got a letter.
But I would say.
Certified.
They should have received tax.
So the schools were.
I will. Just due to the fact that the PDJ project or Johnson Brothers is. Yeah, I talked with her about it yesterday. She was going on his going to confirm that. Are you asking if I should inform Melissa prior to taking any action?
That's why I was just curious to.
Would it change the decision of this board?
I don't really think so in this case. To me, it's,
I'll just come back down. She knows. Inform the county also so that they can notify everybody.
if nothing else, this will get the process moving. I think Johnson was just put this aside for now. We don't care, right?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think they've got an asset that's for sale or available.
March 3rd. Oh, so the 15 days is up.
Wait.
Oh, that letter, I'm sorry.
Yep, okay.
So, it's fine. Motion to terminate the lease. Pilot. Lease back. Johnson Brothers.
I want to, I do, because I sat on that committee for a long time. Look back on it. I'm with it.
Sorry. Further discussion.
You do that.
We should have that.
Not roll call.
Reader?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes,
Laura? Fargo, side. Motion carried. This is no reason.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
And he'll paper it out. Yes. It was up on our minutes, if you recall, so it has been brought to the attention of the board. The original intention was, a new investor purchased distressed property from the bank who held notes associated with 120 Barlow Street. There was a first lien position by Madison Payne's junior or senior, and they have settled on, I don't know if they went into default or not, but they said, if you subdivide a couple of acres from the back and give us the 8,000 or 9,000 square foot outbuilding garage, we will, sign off our first lien position. So they moved forward with a subdivision of a portion of the land, which was an action taken by this board at the last meeting. A refresher would be in your minutes. But some
Okay, motion to go into executive session. Advice of counsel. Governing the attorney-client privilege. I will second. You get that?
Yeah.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
hold on a moment while we get the camera works to another.
Should I end the stream or should I just move it?
I would just move it into another office.
Refreshment? Okay, cameras in Got those special for Rogers last time. They're just from Tops, but they're pretty good. Punch key? It says on the box. Say it like punch key. You can take one then. Yeah.
It's just these two.
I think it's Lent. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that, you already.
Yeah, just for the cameras, we came out of executive committee at 4:35 p.m. It was a motion by whom?
Schwartz, that's it.
We got it, yeah.
Schwartz Rieger.
Okay, I do not have any, I do, some quick updates. The money from Sturpey for the parking lots in downtown Oneida, the payment has come through. We noted it with our bank today. We've got an invoice issued to the CPA. The money will be remitted to the city as early as tomorrow, maybe. $25,000 to complete that transaction. I believe the paperwork has been filed or will be filed or is in the process of being filed.
We will make the recordings now that we know, once the city gets the money.
And you get paid. We are taking it. I think you did too. It'd be a lawyer. Okay, my other updates, micro enterprise. Russ is serving on the committee along with a bunch of other volunteers in the PCD. They met in the hub last week. They had 18 applications in excess of $500,000 worth of requests. Great little way to help mom and pops, micro enterprises, businesses with 5 or fewer employees who can either be qualified as low to moderate income or create one job. Second, I think this is our third round. The county, I think, was the original applicant, sourced through community development block grants, but a roaring success.
Thank you, man, for trying.
What's that? What, you
I'm
have
okay.
that much to roll
That
out?
was enough.
Maximum of $35,000 per applicant.
260 or 270,000, 270,000.
30,000, I think, is
You
administrative.
had 500,000 available?
No, 270,000 approximately.
Oh, so you.
It was a $300,000 block grant, of which we had 18 requests for up to $500,000 worth of asks. No, we've got, I think, a punch list of, we had 8 awardees last time around. We're still doing our due diligence, but just the preliminary numbers to share with you. We had a rural equity conference, which this was our 3rd year, hosted at Morrisville State College in conjunction with everybody from Sam at the county, Jocelyn helping to run the show, Megan from the Wise Business Network, with the SBA and the SBDC and all of the potential service providers, including the IDA, all in attendance, participating, moderating, had roundtable discussions. We had a Micron representative as the keynote speaker. Great success. I think we had to close off registrations at 110 attendees. Outstanding. Very good compared to last year, which we had a bigger venue and a smaller attendance and bad weather. But a great.
Where was it held?
Morrisville State College.
Oh, okay.
They offered it up graciously. I don't think we paid for anything. Small registration. Our agency helped to sponsor it. All Seasons Ingredients sponsored it. But a lot of work went into it, and it was, I think, a great success. And then I think I mentioned earlier also the RFPs for the Economic Development Strategic Plan. Monday was the cutoff. We received 18 responses that the committee, the steering committee, will be pouring over hopefully beforehand with preliminary scores to discuss next Wednesday, where we might hash out and identify 1, 2, or even 3 firms to potentially interview as finalists.
Who's the steering?
I recommended 3 or 4 people. You ain't got it up to 11 or 12.
No, that's not true. That is not true. Okay, it's not 11 or 12.
What do we have though?
Okay, so Rick is on it, I'm on it,
Matt Roberts.
Matt Roberts is on it, Jamie Kowalski from planning, Caitlin Lynch from tourism, Melissa Davies from representing the PCD, Lauren Lyons, and Jim Cunningham.
And Larkin. Or not Larkin, but somebody
No,
she's going to assign.
Mary
to
Ellen
CCD.
Sheehan, the economic development.
Nine.
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 There, we might be missing one.
Well, you're
So that's what it
counting
be?
yourselves, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. I stand corrected. No.
Again, it's just, it's a big group.
Well, we're gonna have a fantastic conversation. Many minds make great input.
Yep, most definitely. We are meeting next Wednesday on April the 1st, 10 a.m. at the county. If people need to meet remotely, we can accommodate that. So.
I mean, hopefully the scoring will really help everybody sort through it and it'll be clear who the top 5 are, talk about them.
Saying that Camel's a horse, it's 99 committee.
Well, we weren't supposed to get 18. I have just one question. Why do you think we got so many applications?
I think the New York State contract reporter, which blasts it out to the world or people subscribe to and get the input that an RFP has been issued, and consultants from, Golden Shovel, that's a national firm, to Camoin and MRB that are New York based, but now MRB is not New York based, but we heard from a lot of people. Barton and LaJudas teamed up with a group out of Boston, and there was several that were collaborators.
I think it has to do with this mic. They see this is entrance into the big money that will.
Let's hope so.
That they think is going to follow.
And just in the interest of time, that's my entire report.
Okay, any other business with the IDA? Okay. Not next meeting, we can settle
Wait,
on
what about the
April
new
23rd.
Did I miss the new business while I was in?
120 Barlow Street, we went into executive discussion.
Well,
Yeah,
We can
the
write
new
that.
business was Barlow Street.
what about the request from SUNY Mars? I'm confused.
Oh, that's the CRC, so
Oh.
Different agenda.
We're not done
Two
yet.
other organizations.
Alright.
2 meetings ago.
Rookie mistake,
Now we have it.
I'll try not to have that happen again.
next meeting,
I
April 23rd.
apologize.
April 23rd at 3 p.m. is what's anticipated.
Okay.
Motion
There's
to
no other
adjourn.
business, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Rob,
Got it.
Second by Rob. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned. Okay, next meeting, CRC. Call the Madison County Capital Resource Corporation Board directors to order. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, August 27th.
We discussed the draft budget at that time.
I'll make the motion.
Dan, second.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion, any errors, omissions, corrections, deletions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Review of financials, we're gonna defer that till, Karen's report updates from committee, audit committee. And recommendation to the board.
It's a whole new set
Home
for
use.
CRC.
Goals, accomplishments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The audit's put.
Yeah, sure. The audit committee met earlier today and recommending that the CRC board accept the final audit for approval.
Motion to approve or accept the audit report.
I'll move it.
Second that. Second by Kyle. Any further discussion? Not roll call?
Rieger? Aye. I'm pronouncing that right?
Yes.
Yeah, Schwartz.
Yes.
Rieger.
I screwed up the first time, you didn't even answer it.
Yeah.
Laura.
We're just bound to.
Barnabas.
So,
Motion carried, thank you.
What else?
Governance Committee, Russ.
The governance committee met, reviewed the policies, we suggested a few relatively minor changes and recommended turning review parts of it. See if there are any updates.
You have a recommendation to approve the goals and accomplishments.
Yes.
We waited on it. The idea we didn't forward authorize.
Policies we're going to wait on it. This is the goals and accomplishments.
Just the goals and accomplishments, just the.
So we also went over the 2025 accomplishments and 2026 goals. Let's review. And we recommend approval of those. And then modifications of the IDA.
And then the goals.
I said goals.
Yep, goals and accomplishments. We
2025 accomplishments.
Wrap it up.
2026. You can signature.
Yes, please.
Any financing deals on for civic facilities?
The last update that I think I had, I'm not sure which organization I presented it. We will. I've talked with DJ Rouse, Rowe out of Morrisville, who runs the senior housing at Morrisville. And he is looking at ways to diversify their operations, and Chris jumped on a conference call along with a handful of others, just weighing what the CRC could do should they have plans for new construction and bond financing for our civic facility. But through the CRC.
Capital resource.
Capital
Right.
resource.
So to build another facility, they have.
They're weighing, yeah,
They have two different places, right, already? Are we talking about like the Cedar?
community memorials, senior,
Oh, the new one,
in Morrisville.
the new one, right? New,
I think they'd be looking at potentially building on campus there in Morrisville or another location. But again, preliminary, and I've talked with other developers who are circling in that group, and things are still in the works. So if you ask if we've got any deals on the horizon, that's the only one. And that would be new money.
That'd be, goal number one.
Yes. Our goal is always at least one.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to approve the goals and accomplishments.
So,
Move to second. Any further discussion? Not roll call?
Krieger? Aye. Schwartz?
yes,
Laura?
yes.
Bargos?
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. If you could tear off your back page, just so that we've got the board evaluation document for Amanda's files. You need another copy.
I'll let.
This is the second one.
This is for the CRC. Got it. Got a pen?
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna go back.
Thanks.
Did you need the whole document? or just-
I don't need the whole document, just the one page. You can rip it off, yeah.
Investment report for the CRC.
It should be, I handed it out at the same time as the goals and accomplishments.
Okay. Anybody else need a investment report for the CRC?
no, or look at it, right?
Thank you. Again, similar laddering on CDs, interest rates on the furthest, around the 2028, we're up to 4.91%. To just give you perspective, we used to keep our cash in a checking account earning 0.02% interest. We've been investing and doing much better. Our CRC investments help to earn well in excess of $41,000. Presenting the investment report for your review. Happy to answer any questions or accept a motion to accept the report.
Those interest rates,
Same.
those interest rates are different.
They are based on the date in which we purchased them. I want to say that biggest, the 2028 maturity,
It's higher, a lot.
yeah, I want to say that the largest is what we bought furthest out at that time was 2027. We might have purchased that back in 2022 or 2023, where we said, wow, look at that interest rate. Let's put a lot of money into it. But lo and behold, rates went up. At the time, we were looking at 2.5%, and that popped up to over 3%. But still, I think we're doing a very good job of managing our investments and
Just gotta make sure that, again,
investment policy as far as the insurance
Sure.
collateral.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we should.
Collateralized. Any other comments, questions on the investment report?
We want to just put it to work. I mean, it's great to make all this money off of it, but our goal, our job is to put it to work, right? That's really, that's how I see it, and as a board member. Make sure we're using this money.
To accomplish our
Yeah, if we
goals.
hadn't been putting it to work, we'd have twice as much money.
I
You know that?
I get it. But it's what, sort of the cash that has cut, all this interest income is what's helping to raise our cash on hand. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that happen in our financials.
This year.
Just a reminder, CRC funds are much more flexible. IDA funds are very restricted. Very restricted. So, I'd like to make this clear.
Could it be used for housing? To support housing?
We have done that.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's what we
how
just
we're
talked
money for the.
Right,
Sure.
okay, great, okay, good. Because there may be more projects, hopefully there will be more projects.
I will make a motion to accept the investment report for 2025.
Second it.
Any further discussion? No, they signify by saying aye.
Rieger.
Aye.
Schwartz.
Aye.
Laura. Bartos.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please.
Sign order.
There is in your handouts, oh, I'm sorry, you okay with me?
Yeah, what, what's the sign order?
You just did that, that's what.
That's the bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is like the record report.
the Paris, I didn't see it.
I gave you the one update on the Morrisville senior housing, but there is also a new request in your handouts. Back in 2015, the Morrisville Auxiliary Corps helped to construct and bonded for the Morrisville Commons 2 dormitory on campus. Associated with that financing was a portion that we had identified as a part of our anticipated revenue sharing. And with the closure of Nelson Farms, there is a lacking commercial kitchen availability. And here is a proposal by Dr. Rogers asking us to consider his request to use some of this. He referenced IDA, but it should be CRC.
Correct.
And there is a breakdown of the request and a budget to utilize the money. I've had a preliminary talk with Chris about this. I've obviously been talking with Dave about this for a few months, but here's the formal request. We don't necessarily need to take any action. I think Dave wanted to talk with you about it. Unfortunately, he was unable to attend the meeting. But I think the request is reasonable, and it's something that you guys could make a decision on at a future date. But I'd be happy to field any questions if I can, but I think it's somewhat
Can
self-explanatory.
I jump in on this?
Please do.
So speaking of using CRC funds, in the past, we've done this. When we use CRC funds, which are usually fees from bond issuances, CRC funds can be used, like I said, for more flexible things. We've done something like this with Hamilton Housing. We did CAS Arts, in respect to the arts program. The way we set it up, and we should do this by formal resolution. There's an economic development services agreement that gets entered into the CRC and the entity that's giving money. And we've had success where we don't just hand them, in this case, $82,000 and change. We say,
this is what you're authorized, should the board authorize that amount? Then they go out and they buy equipment, in this case for the kitchen, they provide us proof of the audit, you reimburse them for that amount. In other words, you're not just giving them a check for $83,000. We need verification of each purchase before CRC funds go in that direction. But it is something we've done in the past, and it's legit.
Advances Commission, Natural Resource Corporation. Well, how much do we have here?
$83,436.
So, and where would this be located?
On campus.
Okay, so not at Nelson Farms.
Nelson Farms is on the market. There's been some interest. I don't think that it's sold yet.
It's a zoning issue.
Yes.
In Nelson?
Yeah, come on.
For the anticipated
Nelson
use
has a-
for, based on the applicant to the micro enterprise.
They have a zoning there. There's a proposal is to put in.
Oh, that's right, it's a boarding kennel.
Oh, Lord.
Indoor.
Daycare? Indoor.
A daycare?
Daycare and
Doggy
daycare.
Doggy daycare.
And board.
And grooming, so.
Okay. And retail.
And everything.
It's a very small lot too.
Yes.
There's actually, it extends back and behind the old Grange or whatever it was.
Who owns it? Marshall Auxiliary? owns
Yeah,
the
it's
property.
for.
I'm all, I mean, I think there's probably a true need for a shared use commercial kitchen. But I do believe that Cornell Park Extension has been working with some sort of a small group of people. Because a lot of people think this is a great idea, and a lot of people love the idea and want to do it. And I feel like we should at least find out what is the status of this process. Are there other potential contenders? I mean, I'm all for supporting Morrisville. They need our support, especially right now. But I feel like in due diligence, we should find out. Of course, Cornell Park Extension was talking about putting it there and there, in the, I forgot what they call it, 4-H building, or building.
The annex.
The annex, whatever. And then there's just talk of it in various other places. So I
There have definitely been private groups who had interest in the building, who had interest in the equipment, or had interested in certain pieces of equipment. There have definitely been private individuals who have invested in such equipment and have been doing value-added food
Yeah.
processing.
Yeah.
They've all been kind of one-offs or two-offs. It just seems the way that this is being proposed, that this would be a community facility that would help the college with its mission also as a school of agriculture.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a chance to read it, to think about it.
And I don't think any
Right,
decision.
I would love to do that, but even just before we go any farther, I'd at least like to make sure that we check in with, a few
Proper
people.
extension.
Yeah, talk to Mary Ellen,
See if
whomever,
there's-
see what else is out there, because I do feel like there were multiple, more institutional interest in it, of various groups. I don't recall, and I could be completely wrong. That's what my memory's telling me, so if you could do that before our next meeting and let us know.
You want me to check in?
Or
with
somebody,
the board?
I don't know.
Do you serve on that board?
No, no, I do not. Morrisville, no. Oh,
No,
Cornell Park
Cornell
Extension.
Park Extension.
No, I mean, I can ask Lark.
No, it's fine.
I don't mind doing it, it's up to you. I don't,
I got it.
you do have plenty to do as well. I do think you have a lot to do.
Happy to do that. And I explained to Dave that I think reasonably, let's introduce it, give a chance for you to kind of make a pitch. If the board wants to make a decision today, great. But otherwise, I think the expectation would be, and he.
No.
Yeah, you have to get together.
For sure.
Yeah,
Again, so I think, I don't think anyone's expecting that.
Operation.
It could be great. It could be a perfect location and good for all. Right?
That is all I have for new business.
Any other business? CRC? Not motion to adjourn. Next meeting will be.
Will it just automatically be at the same time as the next?
We don't always convene the CRC if we don't have business.
Okay, I guess would this constitute business?
April 23rd it is.
Well, I mean, I feel like this is something, somebody's asked us for something, and it seems like we have business. Right, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I can have all that information.
I do have a question about this project as well. Sorry, this- yeah. I'm not sure we've ever supported labor. Something like that.
No, that was the.
I don't know. If there's anything wrong with it, but it is different.
It's not clear what that is.
Yeah, that's, there's no prohibition legally for the money from CRC goes towards labor, but it, you know, probably more, as I kind of think about this, to support hard costs.
So I will pose the question about the moving and installation of equipment versus staffing when he refers to the labor.
It really does say staffing, for scheduling, compliance, oversight, payment, protocols, onboarding, producer assistance. So I think they're imagining some staff that would be then supporting all these folks coming into the community, saying, this is how to use it, this is how you're doing the education, of how to follow, comply with all the rules, here are the labels, I mean, it's.
Is that a term of a huge brother?
Well, it's IDA for services.
Yeah, not necessarily, it's a good project.
So next meeting, April 23rd. Motion adjourned by.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Adjourned. So GFC. Next. I'll call you.
Okay.
I'll call to order the Madison County Grant Facilitation Corporation Board of Directors meeting. First order of business is approved minutes of the previous meeting, August 27th, 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Me too, I'll second it. I like doing it. I don't know who's there. Looks like they were
Thank you.
well covered. Good job. Good job with the minutes.
Second, any errors, corrections, omissions, deletions? Not all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Review of financials will defer until the next meeting. Updates from committees, audit committee?
Yes, I'm pleased to announce that we just concluded, that we just had a review of the auditor and recommending that that this board approve the audit for 2025. And I'll make that motion.
I will second that.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Not roll call?
Krieger? Schwartz?
Yes.
Laura? Scarboroughs? Aye. Motion carried, thank you.
Anything else from audit committee?
The governance committee met and went over the policies and made a few suggested changes and reviewed some aspects of it. We also reviewed the 2025 accomplishments, the 2025 and the 2026 goals. That's 2025, but the 2026.
He's got those.
We recommend just accomplishments.
You did?
I have one.
You got a second?
Actually, question.
Yeah, probably not that good.
And Paris review.
So, is that a motion as well? Moved by Russ Fuller, is there a second?
I will second that.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I have a question about the accomplishments. In 2025, we held discussions regarding the possibility of using the corporation as a conduit for land transfer on several projects. These projects may come about in 2026, and so that's what I was asking about. It's like exactly what is the involvement in the Reimagined Now program and engage with private developers at Madison County.
In both cases, the properties are owned by Madison County at the moment. The Reimagine the Canal is a grant received by the Planning Committee in Madison County for a multi-unit residential unit. You're familiar with that?
Yeah.
It is in the county's hands, just like the parking lot issues that we've dealt with. There is a difficulty with municipalities selling taxpayer land for less than market value without selling it at auction, correct? So instead of it going into somebody else's hands besides the chosen developers who went out to an RFP, we're simply going to be a conduit to sell it either for market value or for $1, and because a municipality can give to a public benefit corporation for economic development purposes any land. So we, as we've done for the Boxing Hall of Fame with throughway land, we simply acted as the conduit to accept public land to give it for economic development purposes. In this case, on that project, the developers did not secure their low-income housing tax credits or housing community renewal. So at the moment, we don't know if that project is going to go forward.
But if it does, the property would go to the IDA would give the property to the county. County would transfer the property to the IDA, the IDA would transfer the property to.
The nonprofit that's going to do the development of the house. Okay,
And I don't know if that's for
I don't
any.
think they're a nonprofit.
right. It's a for-profit, is it?
I believe because they talked to us about pilots.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's for,
Which of the, one of those folks that does the housing development?
Not Christopher Communities.
Housing
Housing
visions?
Visions, I believe.
Yep.
That's not hard.
Okay.
They're not.
Are
Yeah, I
they?
think they are.
Maybe it was the previous developers that got dissolved after the RFP was approved.
But they still, they didn't get through.
And the R part, simply again, the county owns land. If we, much like Johnson Brothers, identify somebody who wants property we may be a conduit to get land from the municipality to a private developer because we are capable of accomplishing that. It's not a moneymaker for us, we're just kind of.
Yep, okay. That's what I didn't understand that.
No.
Thank you.
Again, especially this first time through, like
Yeah.
seeing these things. Yeah, no, they're all fair points.
So we have the first by word, the second by reader. This one, Chair.
Roll call. Rieger. Aye. Schwartz.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Barbaros. Aye. Motion carried. Board acknowledgement document signatures. The last page of your handouts. And the investment report, Amanda, did you already pass that out?
Should have been.
Oh, there is no investment. It's there, but it doesn't say anything. Our investments are in the PCD and East Main Street to LLC.
You should be getting the PCD's money back. I think. Property sold, there are a few quick pickups, so at the very least, some very wet pickups. But
Gross.
Motion to approve the investment report.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Yes. Second by Russ.
yeah.
Any further discussion?
Not roll call.
Rieger? Aye. Schwartz?
Yes.
Laura? Yes. Barbaros? Aye. Thank you.
Executive directors.
You're not gonna show.
Ready to serve.
I would like to see a couple of these projects.
But you also,
together, but
you also work with the,
The one
yes,
sorry?
part of our account.
revolving loan fund.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we actually, on both of these loans from the GFC, we were able to leverage not only the county revolving loan fund, but also the Central New York Regional Planning and Development.
Right now, you're tapped
Well, no, we've still got money to lend if we had financials. Give you a hard number.
Because,
115, 116,000.
it's still in the GFC?
Yes,
Okay.
that will act as a loan fund, thing that, not anyone, but to good applicants who apply for the loan.
How large is the county?
might have $600,000 of availability.
Plus some.
Yes, at a bare minimum 200,000, but there are others that are still being.
Much activity.
No. No.
Does that be used to help leverage the micro enterprise?
Quite possibly. I think any of
Micro
the,
enterprise is a grant.
Oh,
So these are all.
there's grant fund coming in for the Hamilton Eatery, for example. And if they build out what they're planning to do, and according to their bankers, that's something that could move forward this spring, could be another opportunity for us to grant funds.
I was just thinking, because you've got $500,000 plus ability funds, I mean, if you still have worthy,
They were.
Uh-huh.
Not grant.
okay,
So
so
we're ready.
then you can refer them to the. Any other business? Should we adjourn?
We're adjourned.
Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you all. As I forewarned you, painful meetings in March.
It's always March is a 3 hour.
That's it?
That is all. That's it.
What? There's no more? More fun to come?
There's just a lot to cover, just a lot of reporting and, you know.
This is the, there's 2 copies.
Oh, good stuff. So
exciting.
I had a sign.
You did?
Yeah, you want me to?
No, what are you doing?
Wow.
Yeah,
No, I'm just kidding.
okay. And
did
I have a Barlow Street resolution from last time.
GFC?
You did?
That was for the last.
No.
We've got you on both. Yep.
It says AI is gonna replace me.
I'm ready for something.
Yeah, those are always big ones. Anything happening or any further clarification? Are we still recording, Amanda?
Thank you for that. Just a second.
So whose copy is that sitting there, that whole
Mine.
physical?